What's up guys, welcome back to another video. My name's Alec from Cichlid Bros, and in today's video, myself and my brother Quinn are going to give you a care guide on one of our favorite African cichlids, the Mbuna. Mbuna can be a very rewarding fish to keep if done the right way, and we're excited to share our experience and knowledge with you, so let's dive right in. Mbuna cichlids are a large and diverse group of cichlids found in Lake Malawi in East Africa. These fish are active, colorful, and semi-aggressive. Lake Malawi is home to a few groups of commonly kept cichlids in the hobby, including Mbuna, peacocks, and haps. Mbuna stay smaller than the others, preferring cave structures and rock work in their tanks, while peacocks and haps are bigger and prefer much more open water swimming space. The word Mbuna actually translates to rockfish.
So Lake Malawi is in East Africa and has water parameters that is high in pH and water hardness than many other tropical fish locations. The ideal pH is somewhere between 7.5 and 8.5. We typically recommend keeping your water parameters consistent rather than chasing these numbers in your tank, as the consistency will be more of a benefit long term. I recommend focusing on maintaining a cycled tank with no ammonia or nitrite and keeping your nitrates as low as possible. But one easy way to raise your pH just a bit is by using crushed coral or argamite sand as your substrate. Temperature should be somewhere between 75 and 82 degrees. So one of my favorite parts about keeping Mbuna is that there are hundreds of different species and color variations. Some of my favorite species include the yellow lab, which is a bright yellow and one of the more peaceful Mbuna, the yellowtail acai, which grow to be one of the larger types of Mbuna, and the Johanni, which have just awesome blue color patterns.
I have 4 of my favorite Mbuna species growing out here in this 40-gallon tank, including the Masobo Deep Bagunga, the Jalo Reef Afra, the Elongatus Chuir, and the Pseudotropheus mangano. Most of these species are dimorphic, meaning the males and females will look differently as they grow over time, and I chose them for their striking colors and patterns and differences between males and females. I look forward to watching them grow up before I transfer them into a much larger tank down the road. Mbuna are typically semi-aggressive to aggressive. They love to have plenty of space and territories to claim in their tank, so you'll need plenty of rocks and decor to go into a decent sized tank. Depending on the type of Mbuna, they can reach 4 to 6 inches in length. A few of the smaller, less aggressive species could fit in as small as a 40-gallon tank like I have here. One great example of this is the Solosi. However, most species of Mbuna would do best in a 55-gallon tank or larger, and the more length and width of the tank, the better. Also, since Mbuna are typically territorial, a common practice with these fish is to overstock the tank, which dilutes the aggression towards any one fish as they distract each other from singling out any one fish. If you're going to go this route with Mbuna, you'll want to keep a close eye on nitrates building up in your tank, and you'll likely need to increase water changes and filter cleanings. I overfilter my Mbuna tanks and end up doing 50 to 6% water changes weekly depending on nitrate levels. One of the most common questions about keeping Mbuna is regarding tank mates, and specifically, can you keep peacocks and haps with Mbuna? Although it can be done, it's usually not recommended for beginners due to differing tank setups and dietary needs. Mbuna will also be a little bit more aggressive with the more docile and less aggressive peacocks, and some fin nipping could happen. Mbuna feed mostly on algae and vegetable-based diets. We usually feed extreme spirulina flakes as a great base to their diet, and then mix in some pellets as well. Peacocks and haps require much more protein in their diet. If Mbuna are given too much protein in their diet, it can lead to a very common issue known as Malawi bloat, which eventually leads to their death. So if you have a mix of these fish in the tank, it can be very difficult to target feed each group. You'll also have a difference in decor to handle as well. So although it can be done, it's not something we totally recommend. We did an entire video on mixing these groups, which I'll leave down in the description, along with links to the ideal foods for these fish.
So when it comes to tank mates, I definitely recommend other Mbuna. Other tank mate options for Mbuna include bottom dwellers like Cynodonus catfish, plecos, clown loaches, and really any scavenger type fish that stay near the bottom and hide out a lot. Similar to peacocks and haps, some Central and South American cichlids could work in the right scenario. And although it definitely can be done, it just isn't ideal as they have different tank setup and dietary needs most of the time. Not saying you can't do it, just trying to give the ideal recommendations here. I would definitely avoid your smaller, peaceful community fish as they'd likely be bullied or eaten over time. Small tetras, barbs, and live bears are probably no-goes here.
When it comes to breeding, if you have a good mix of males to females, like 4-to-1 female to male ratio, it'll likely happen when they're about 3 inches or so in size. You'll notice the females holding eggs in the mouth, usually looking like they have a mouthful full of food. If you're trying to breed them, you can take the holding females out and remove the eggs manually, then place them in a tumbler to hatch. In the right tank setup, some babies may hatch even without intervention. If there's enough space in the tank, you may see some fry appear at some point. But in summary, Mbuna are beautiful, colorful, and active African cichlids. They're a lot of fun to watch with really incredible behavior, swimming in and out of rockscapes. They're a lot of fun to scape tanks with the rock work as opposed to the wide open space of the peacock and hap tank setups. And they're relatively easy to keep as long as you keep up with your water changes, have a big enough tank, and have a proper tank setup. As mentioned before, we will leave links to relevant products on keeping Mbunas in the description below, as well as links to videos we've already done on Mbuna. So as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.